Hello everyone, I am Rohit Luthra and I shall be looking at the issue of non-performing assets in Indian economy. What exactly are non-performing assets or NPAs? They refer to the loans or advances that are in default or in arrears. A loan is in arrears when principal or the interest payments have been missed or they're late. If it is in default when the lender considers the loan agreement to be broken and that the debtor is unable to meet his obligations. So why do we need to look at NPA crisis? The numbers are huge. About 10 lakh crores is estimated to be in NPAs in 2018. It affects the overall growth in the country as a lot of money and efforts have been infused to recover these NPAs. It is cumulative in nature. By that I mean that first of all, there is the lack of debt repayment. Because of that, there is the interest on debt. And when that interest hasn't been repaid, there is interest on that interest. So it gets added up and becomes cumulative. Now, NPA crisis in India. A lot of loans were given back in the economic boom of early 2000s. However, global financial crisis hit in 2008. It started with the crashing of the US housing economy, but spread all across the world. Global trades slowed down and rupee depreciated. So that meant that the loans which are given at about 40 per dollar, post GFC, it was about 60 per dollar. So all the financial calculations of the banks went for a toss. Investments also reduced because of lack of trade. As we can see in this chart, the growth indicators, investments have reduced, corporate profits have reduced, exports have reduced, imports have reduced. Looking at the agricultural output and income, even agriculture got affected because it's a commodity. Now this NPA crisis led to the twin balance sheet crisis. What that means is that the banking sector, which was providing the loans, and the corporate sector taking the loans, both were under stress. Banking sector because it couldn't recover these NPAs, and corporate sector because it, first of all, it couldn't pay off the debt, then the interest on the debt, and it couldn't see a way out of this issue because there was lack of growth in the country. Now, the major sectors contributing to the NPA crisis, it was the industrial sector, the agriculture sector, telecom, as well as housing. India had its own housing crisis back in 2008 with NBFCs being affected as well. There have been efforts to resolve this NPA crisis. Government has infused a lot of money into PSUs. RBI has had its own monetary policy. There has been an insolvency and bankruptcy code and setting up of bad banks as well to deal with it. However, there are some issues with these efforts. For example, the repo rate. It was cut down to boost corporate spending. However, banks which were already under stress because of NPAs and didn't have confidence in the economy did not forward this repo rate to the corporates. So that meant that the investment didn't get the kind of boost it was supposed to have. This is what we call the broken down of the transmission system. Some issues with insolvency and bankruptcy code. The purpose was to bring sick companies back to revival. However, what happened was that the number of bankrupt companies exceeded the corporate resolutions by about 4 times. What exactly is the way ahead? We need to relook at the bank nationalization policy. Now, this is a long-term goal where we need to move away from the public sector banks to privatization of banks because the majority of NPAs are held by these public sector banks. Strategic debt restructuring, allowing banks to actually play a role in changing management of a defaulting company. For power and real estate sector, looking at bad banks to resolve the issues. For example, future owners of apartments spend a lot of money to build these apartments, but when the real estate sector crashed, they neither got the money invested back nor the ownership for these apartments. So a centralized government authority which could look into the real estate sector and provide solutions for it. Improving of IBCs too. Assurance needs to be given to banks that they will be safe as long as they follow the rules. Because currently what's happening is these banks, because of the pressure, they aren't giving out loans. And we need to boost confidence in the economy, and that will only happen once assurance to banks is given. Also, they need to send their default cases to IBC within 180 days of default. To boost confidence in promoters, only willful defaulters will be barred from bidding for these assets. Because otherwise what happens is promoters, they keep filing appeal after appeal, which causes a lot of delay in finding a resolution for these issues. Also, opening up of debt recovery tribunals for non-bank creditors. This would reduce the workload on IBCs. If some of these aspects could be looked into, maybe we will be able to find a way out of this NPA crisis. Thank you.